Okay, so how does the planet get warm? All right, now we've got the sun. So that's like the house, the sun puts heat into the planet. And anything else?
Thermal.
Okay, so there is the core of the Earth is hot, and so there's some heat coming out of there. Okay, and what's our insulation? We have insulation in the Earth. And so we have, let's go back to the house for a second. To keep our house at constant temperature, we need the heat inputs or the energy inputs to equal the energy outputs. All right, so all those balances. So when it's colder outside, we're losing more heat. We put more wood in the stove. When we add insulation, we don't need to heat as much. So on the planet, how does a planet lose heat? Okay, so there's heat, like on the house, there's heat. What color was that one? Purple, okay. So there's heat going out, and the Earth is this blue marble hanging in space. It's warmer than the surroundings, so it radiates heat to the surroundings. And what we're doing here is we're putting insulation in the attic. So as we increase that red line, that's our greenhouse, our atmosphere with greenhouse gases in it, we're adding insulation. And we are therefore cutting out some of the outgoing radiation, outgoing heat, and trapping it in the climate system. So it's a simple analogy, and I'm happy to take questions and comments on it. The Earth doesn't have a furnace. It does have a core, like the ground is hot. But I think people really, when they start talking about climate, sometimes they forget the really, really fundamental basics about what is causing climate change. And what's causing climate change is we're putting in more insulation into the atmosphere, and we don't have any way of turning down the heat because the heat comes from the sun and the core of the Earth, primarily from the sun, and we have no way of turning down the volume on that. So I think here in the UP, since we heat our houses, we have a pretty good way to do this analogy. Am I missing any crucial any points here? I can't see people because I'm not used to the service here. So if there's hands up, you have to shout, not just wave your hand, not just
What effect does the oceans have on
okay. That's a good question. Can you draw an ocean? So in your house, you might imagine that you had a lot of bathtubs full of water. And what happens is that the water takes longer to heat up. It sort of absorbs that energy and gradually gets absorbs that energy and gradually gets warmer and warmer. So that's happening on the planet as well. And it's also a big heat reservoir, just like Lake Superior is a heat reservoir here. It keeps us temperature moderated. What's happening on the global scale is that about 90% of the extra heat that's being put into the system, or that's not being let out of the system, is accumulating in the oceans. And so oceans are getting warm at a remarkable rate. It's a very large volume, so we don't see a change yet, but it's definitely measurable. And it tends to moderate the interannual variability. But during an El Nino event, for example, more heat comes out of the ocean, acts as a reservoir, and it's basically a big heat reservoir on the ocean. Does that answer your question?